The next section in wealth management, and we'll talk about financial planning and performance management of various instruments that are available, and broadly some generic concepts about performance management and generic ideas about how financial planning is important for us in the context of overall wealth management, right? While we will learn more on these terms as we go along, the first session is primarily going to revisit a couple of older ideas that we had kind of discussed around time value of money and how do you look at broad returns in terms of absolute returns and percentage returns. So we are going to look at this data and understand the implication of why does time value of money become important. How do you gauge the overall context of inflation as a risk for any investment, and then move ahead in terms of gauging adjusted return calculations in subsequent sections, right? So let's quickly revisit this concept of time value of money. Now, as the time progresses, the value of the currency that you hold decreases. The value that you hold decreases is because of inflation. So what you hold today in your hands is worth less tomorrow, right? So the value of money today is more than the value of money 2 years down the line. In other words, if someone was to give you 100 rupees 1 year down the line, the value of that today at 0 years is more. So you might actually accept a lower amount today because probably 90 rupees today is equal to 100 rupees next year, right? Now, when we say the value has fallen, it's to say that what you're able to purchase today with 90, a year down the line, you will need 100 to purchase the same thing. So in a sense, the value has gone down, right? We'll understand this in the context of inflation as we look at. So how do you calculate it? Now let's say you have rupees 100 today in your hands. After a year, rupees 100 would become lesser than the actual value of rupees 100 because inflation typically is positive, right? So inflation values will go up, and because of inflation values going up, what would happen is the value of money will go down. So if you today have 100 rupees with you, what you can buy with 100 rupees today, you will not be able to buy the same with only 100 rupees next year. You will need more money, right? Now, how much is the value worth after 1 year? Let's assume that inflation rate is 10%, right? If inflation rate is 10%, then the future value of this 100 is given by 100. And remember, this future value is a sort of a discounting that you're doing and not the earlier future value calculation that you had done. Earlier, when we were looking at future value, we were assuming that this is going to earn a return. Now, assume you hold this 100 rupee note with you, right? Next year, you're able to buy lesser with this, right? That's because the price of everything else has gone up, but you only hold 100 rupees today. So how do you look at this? You basically look at a 10% rate. So 10% is going to be equal to, in other words, your 100 today will be worth maybe around 90 next year. How do you get to that? How do you get to that number is basically you divide this 100 by 1.1. Why 1.1? 1 plus 10%. So the value of 100 goes down to 90.9 next year, correct? What does that mean? If you're able to purchase something worth 100 today, next year, if you have 100 rupees, you will only get stuff worth 90.9 from that. And that is how inflation affects your money or holding capacity. Is this a risk? So this is a risk because it's a risk in terms of the purchasing power. Let's understand how it affects your investments. If your bank FD gives 8% return on capital and you have 10,000 rupees in your bank account at 8%, you will have 10,800 in your hands at the end of 1 year, right? So this is today and this is after 1 year. But if inflation is 10%, then what you could have purchased by 10,000 using 10,000